This girl discovered an ancient Indian manuscript written entirely in Sanskrit while rummaging through her grandmother's storage room. She saw the illustrations in the book and assumed it was some kind of yoga manual. So, with the help of a translation app, she began practicing the poses based on the pictures. In just 3 days, she started seeing results. Her arms could stretch unnaturally long, and she was able to perform extreme backward bends. But what she didn't know was that this wasn't yoga at all. This is the 2023 American horror film, Mind, Body, Spirit. The story begins with a move. The girl's name is Anya, a fairly popular yoga influencer. 2 weeks ago, she inherited a 3-story mansion from her late grandmother and couldn't wait to move in. Since she didn't have a boyfriend, Anya didn't bother doing much cleaning. She just cleared out a small space and immediately began filming her next yoga tutorial. But while adjusting her legs for a pose, she accidentally knocked over a nearby bookshelf. At first, she didn't think much of it. She picked up the fallen books and was about to continue recording, until she looked up and noticed something strange. There was a hidden space behind the bookshelf. Anya pushed the shelf aside and discovered a sealed-off room. She grabbed a flashlight and stepped inside. The room was filled with jars and bottles containing liquids of various colors. She figured it was just a storage room left by her grandmother, and started poking around out of curiosity. On the second floor, she found a strange altar. Candles were lit in front of it, and eerie symbols covered the walls. The scene gave her chills. Nearby, she spotted a string hanging from the ceiling. Thinking it was for a light, she gave it a pull, only to bring down a mysterious cloth pouch. Inside was an ancient book with bizarre writing. She flipped to the first page but couldn't understand a word of it.
For my Anya.
Bringing the book back to her room, she used online tools to investigate and discovered the writing was Sanskrit. Some words were so obscure even the computer couldn't translate them. Frustrated by her inability to understand it, Anya lost interest. At that moment, her friend Kenzie arrived. Kenzie was also a yoga enthusiast, and the two often practiced together. Seeing Kenzie reminded Anya of the video she had planned. She set the ancient book aside and started recording the next day's episode with Kenzie. After a few hours of busy filming, the video was finally completed. Since she had other things to do, Kenzie packed up her equipment and left. Anya felt the opening wasn't good enough, so she re-recorded it again, but she didn't notice. When she closed her eyes to meditate, a shadowy figure quietly appeared in the room.
Every voice but your own.
By the time filming was over, it was already evening. Anya returned to her room to rest, but she couldn't fall asleep no matter how she tried. Bored, she picked up the ancient book again. She found some poses in the book that looked similar to yoga, and thought yoga did originate in India. Could this be some kind of ancient yoga manual? She came up with a bold idea: record a series of tutorials about ancient yoga. Although she couldn't read the text, there was an illustration in the book of a person with an eye on their forehead, which she found very mysterious. She stayed up all night using translation software to study, and finally figured out some of the process. The next day, she eagerly turned on the camera and recorded the first episode of Indian yoga. The first step was different from traditional yoga. It began with chanting a spell. Anya followed the translation and began to chant. She didn't know whether the chant actually worked, but Anya really felt something different. In the following days, she continued learning based on the illustrations. During the learning process, Anya discovered that Indian yoga and modern yoga had many differences. To help her fans understand better, she even made detailed tutorials. However, when she got to the later chapters, Anya started to feel something was wrong. The book said that to study yoga deeply, one must expel the foul energy from the body. And the way to expel it was to place a rope in the mouth, and the foul energy would be discharged through the rope. Not understanding why, Anya followed the book's instructions and tried it. She found a rope and attempted to put it into her mouth. But after fiddling with it for a while, the rope didn't move at all. Just as Anya thought she might be doing it wrong, a bizarre scene occurred. A sudden event made Anya feel extremely unwell. And she unknowingly fell asleep on the bed. But the moment she closed her eyes, the camera in the room started moving on its own. The camera floated out of the room and into the living room. Another Anya appeared in front of the camera. When Anya opened her eyes again, it was already the next morning. Seeing the camera was still recording, she remembered she had forgotten to turn it off the night before. After eating something simple, Anya started filming again. She wanted to meditate according to the book's instructions, but as soon as she closed her eyes, strange things started happening again. Anya also felt something was wrong. She opened the ancient book to see if she had learned something incorrectly, but when she turned the next page, she found it was damaged, and the missing part happened to be in the text area. While Anya was wondering, she looked at the illustration on the page. That pattern looked just like the one on the altar. Anya hurried to the attic and, sure enough, saw the same symbol on the altar. Anya gently knocked and found that the wooden wall behind the altar sounded hollow. She tore away the burlap and took a closer look. Behind the wooden board was another compartment, but this compartment had no entrance. Anya grabbed a hammer and smashed the board open. Inside the alcove, Anya found some more strange glass bottles, but this time the bottles didn't contain liquids. They seemed to hold plants. Anya picked up one of the bottles and noticed that each one had a corresponding symbol. Using translation software, Anya learned that these items were meant to be taken alongside the lessons. Each bottle's contents corresponded to a specific stage. Anya opened the one with the small eye on the forehead symbol. Inside were some black leaves. According to the book, these leaves could help expel the foul energy. Thinking the leaves were tea, Anya followed the book's instructions and brewed them in hot water. However, as soon as she drank the tea made from the leaves, Anya felt the world spinning. She looked up and saw that another version of herself had appeared in the doorway. In a daze, Anya saw many versions of herself walking around the living room. Anya tried to call for help, but she felt completely weak. She couldn't even get up. When Anya opened her eyes again, it was already evening, but she couldn't remember anything that had happened that afternoon. Anya turned around and went back to her bedroom. The next morning, Kenzie came over again. It turned out that tomorrow was the day their new video was supposed to be uploaded. But after days of studying the ancient book, Anya had completely forgotten about it. She sleepily walked out to the balcony. Seeing Anya in poor condition, Kenzie thought she hadn't slept well the night before. She asked Anya if something had happened, but who knows, Anya is suddenly angry. The two exchanged a few words and an argument broke out. It turned out that the reason Anya moved back into the old house was due to a poor relationship with her parents and a tendency towards suicide. If it hadn't been for Anya's mother worrying she might take her own life, Kenzie wouldn't have agreed to come over to shoot any videos. Angry, Kenzie turned around and stormed out of Anya's house. Frustrated, Anya could only lean against the doorframe and vent. But right then, she suddenly noticed her arm could stretch unnaturally long. She recalled what the ancient book had described. Could it be that she had truly mastered Indian yoga? Anya opened the book and found that the next page was about opening the third eye. But the book didn't contain any instructions on how to actually open it. While Anya was puzzled, she noticed that there seemed to be traces of markings in the blank space of the illustration. Curious, Anya held the illustration under sunlight, and sure enough, faint marks gradually became visible. Anya went up to the second floor and found the small bottle that matched the illustration. She applied the liquid from the bottle onto the drawing, and found that the blank area revealed another hidden image. When combined with the original illustration, it had nothing to do with yoga at all. Anya studied carefully, and only then did she realize this ancient book was actually a black magic manual on how to open the third eye. Just as Anya was caught in confusion, she heard a strange noise behind her. When Anya opened her eyes again, she found herself in the attic. At some point, her clothes had changed into a dress. Before she could figure out what was going on, she felt her body stand up involuntarily. Anya looked back and found that, at some unknown moment, a small knife had appeared in her hand. Her hand, completely out of her control, reached toward her forehead. Anya tried to resist, but no matter how hard she screamed, her body wouldn't obey.
No, please.
A cut appeared on Anya's forehead, so this was what they meant by opening the third eye. The next morning, Kenzie received a call from Anya. Anya cried on the phone, saying it was all her fault, and asked Kenzie to forgive her. As her best friend, Kenzie didn't think much of it. They agreed to meet that afternoon to film another video. In the afternoon, Kenzie arrived at Anya's house as promised. Anya said she had just learned a new form of yoga and wanted Kenzie to help demonstrate it in the video. At Anya's request, Kenzie lay down and began meditating. But as soon as Kenzie closed her eyes, Anya walked over holding a large iron spike.
So how long should I?
Poor Kenzie was killed. A woman appeared in the attic and dragged Kenzie's body upstairs. It turned out, in order to open the third eye, a life must be sacrificed. After the ritual, Anya felt another soul had entered her body. That soul forcefully took control of her. A A few days later, while Anya was practicing alone at home, she received a call from her mother. She had truly mastered the black magic described in the ancient book. But by this point, Anya no longer seemed to be Anya. She might have already been possessed by the evil spirit within the book. And that concludes the full story of the 2023 horror film, Mind, Body, Spirit. Overall, the film's quality was quite decent. Alright, that's all for today's breakdown. See you in the next one.